So Daniel, as you know, you have 15 minutes to present.
Yeah.
After your presentation, you'll have a seat. I will ask you a couple of questions about your study. You can start.
Shall start.
Right.
Okay. Good afternoon, good day, good morning. I don't know what time it is.
We don't know anymore.
I'm going to present to you my research study called The Theory That Explains the Absence of Multiple Means of Engagement in an Intermediate Adult TEFL class at a private university in Santiago. My advisor this time was Diego Ávila. So, to give you some context of the research study, it was carried out in this university, in a private university in Santiago. The participants were 32 students of 18 years old onwards, and they belonged to an intermediate adult class, and it was carried out in just one semester. So, how I identified the research problem? When I got to the internship, I noticed that the teacher did not include any activities related to communicative activities meant to use communicatively the language or to integrate all students inside the classroom, and also she didn't use word maps as a means of communication or motivation and to integrate the whole class. So as a result of this, the students, well, some of them, the majority, were totally disengaged from the classes and very demotivated. They were looking mostly at their cell phones than the teacher. Yep. So what is the relevance of this information? It is relevant because of two things. These two documents that I've got here, Marco para la Buena Enseñanza and Universal Design for Learning, address this topic of integration and the role of the teacher inside the classroom. For example, Marco para la Buena Enseñanza establishes what the teachers in the country should know and what they should do in order to determine if they are doing well their job at the schools or not. And the Universal Design for Learning is a learning framework created to improve the quality of education around the world and of course here in this country. So, just to give you some definitions about UDL, it says that active engagement with learning is gained through social processes. All students need alternative models of how to achieve a goal and a sense that the steps to get there are achievable. And regarding the Marco para la Buena Enseñanza, it says that the teacher, based on his/her pedagogical competences, knowledge of his/her students, and mastery of the contents that teaches, he or she designs, selects, and organizes teaching strategies that give sense to the contents presented. And thus, the performance of the teacher is demonstrated mainly through the lesson plans and the effects that the lesson plans have on students. So, the bridging knowledge is the little empiric evidence found regarding this topic, integration and inclusion, in the classroom, even though this topic is being addressed by multiple institutions and official documents around the world. And also, I think it is the best, it is the most important thing before planning a lesson and before the teacher enters to the classroom. So, the research question for this study was, what is the theory that explains the absence of multiple means of engagement in an intermediate adult TEFL class at a private university in Santiago? The general objective was to devise a theory to understand the absence of multiple means of engagement in an intermediate TEFL class, and the specific objectives: to observe the teacher's activities carried out during the classes, to describe the students' engagement during these classes and the activities, and to observe the students' attitudes toward learning the language and the activities. So my assumption at the beginning of the study was that the teacher does not implement activities meant to engage and consider all students in her classes because she doesn't have time to do so, or just because she doesn't mind if students learn or not. So, my theoretical framework is this one. As you can see, the main concept is the absence of multiple means of engagement, which is in the middle. And around this concept, we have 4 more categories, which are the student psychoaffective profile, sociocultural factors, EFL methodologies, and UDL multiple means of engagement. So, regarding student psychoaffective profile, Harmer stated that adult students are quite different to adolescents because adult learners are more aware of their learning processes and are more critical in relation to their environment. In relation to sociocultural factors, here we have 3 more concepts inside this big concept. We have culture, attitude, and teachers' beliefs. So, regarding culture, Brown stated that it is defined as the ideas, customs, skills, tools, and arts that characterize a group of people in a given period of time. Regarding attitude, it was defined by Sharahabian and Harshman, and it was defined as the way a person responds to his or her environment, either positively or negatively. And finally, Islam, which is not there, defined teachers' beliefs as tacit, often unconsciously held assumptions about the classroom, the students, and the academic material to be taught. Regarding EFL, we have here a definition for EFL, defined by Nordquist, who stated that EFL is usually learned in environments where the language of the community and the school is not English. And a definition for warm-ups by Harmer, and he stated that warm-ups are short activities implemented at the beginning of the class for some teachers to bring back those students to the classroom, like to warm up those students and to bring them back. And we have UDL multiple means of engagement, which is something that I'm going to explain right in a single slide. So here we have the three core principles of UDL. We have the affective networks, the why of learning, recognition network, the what of learning, and strategic networks, the how of learning. The first one, which was the chosen one for this study, has to do with the stimulation of interest and motivation for learning of the students. For example, doing pair work, group games, teamwork, self-reflection, self-reflecting on choices, and etc. And then we have how we presented the information and the content for the students, which could be done by showing graphs, pictures, PowerPoint presentations, and all that. And the third one has to do with the differentiation in the ways that students can express what they know. So here we have more practical activities like written tasks or role plays, etc. So we're only going to focus on this one, engagement. So what's engagement? Engagement is defined by Chernoff as the heightened simultaneous experience of concentration, interest, and enjoyment in the task at hand. But how do we engage our students in the classroom? Well, Meyer, Rose, and Gordon in 2014 defined, gave a definition for this question. And they say that active engagement with learning is gained through social processes. They say that all students need alternative models of how to achieve a goal in a sense that the steps to get there are achievable. In that way, we're going to get a purposeful and motivating environment for the students to learn. And an example to make it more like appealing, maybe. So here in the first picture we have the importance of multiple means of engagement. As you can see in picture number one student in one context could be totally disengaged from the classroom, and as you can see in picture number 2, the same student could be totally engaged in another context. So that's the idea of providing these multiple means of engagement. So regarding methodology, I chose an interpretive paradigm because Mainly because it considers more the views of the participants that the participants have than what is found in the literature. That's the main reason. And qualitative approach because of the same reason and because of the qualitative data that I gather. And grounded theory design because it is systematic qualitative procedure used to generate a theory that explains at a broad conceptual level a process, an action, or interaction about a substantive topic. That's what I did in this research. So the sample were an intermediate class composed of 32 students of 18 years old onwards, and the sampling technique was intact class because I considered all views to take the field notes and purposive theoretical sampling for the focus group. So for the focus group I chose the students who attended the class the most, and I picked like 7 students. So we've got to the methodological procedure. First, we have the initial observations. Here I identified the research problem and the main categories. Then I took field notes on the behavior and the activities that happened inside the classroom regarding the students along all the process. Then I stated the research question, objectives, paradigm, the approach, and the design. Then the data collection materials. I created, created the instruments, the interview, focus group, and the observation, which are field notes. And after that, I analyzed the data using GT coding, which is something that I'm going to explain in a couple of minutes. And the conclusion at the end is to understand the absence of multiple means of engagement in this classroom. Regarding data collection materials, I chose field notes because it allows the researcher to take field notes at the research site. And I chose interview to the teacher. I chose here an ethnographic interview because they are a series of friendly conversations, as it says here, into which the researcher slowly introduces new elements to assist informants to respond as informants. And a focus group, mainly because of the interaction that is found within focus group. And trustworthiness. Credibility was ensured because I considered both perspectives, that of the teacher and of the students. Dependability was ensured because of the data collection materials that I got, like the field notes, the focus group, and the observation field notes, so as to triangulate all this data in the last step. Then confirmability was ensured because of the availability of the data, the researchers' interpretations, and the triangulation of the process is stated in the report so that everyone can have access to it. Transferability was ensured also because of the thick descriptions of the participants. And so other researchers can apply the same or other similar studies in a similar context. And prolonged engagement because of the 24 weeks that I spent in the internship. So here there is an example of the matrix that I created for the open code step, in which I added an open code for the raw data. In this case, this is an example. I think engagement is necessary, otherwise there is no learning. This is for the interview to the teacher. So the code was engagement. I did the same for the field notes and focus group. So all the data has a code, an open code. Then in the axial coding step, here we have an example. I gathered all these open codes from the interview, focus group, and the field notes, and I put them together with a bigger category that explains those concepts and their respective conclusion. Then selective coding. Here in the last step, I selected the core category and to devise the theory. And I think I changed the name here in the selective coding, but we'll explain it later. the findings and conclusion. Here we have the absence of multiple means of engagement in the middle. And these are the findings. That the first one is the methodology adopted by the teacher, which may or may not be well appreciated for the students, because what interferes here is the student psychoaffective profile, because they are able to question the teacher, their own learning processes, and the methodology of the teacher. So when it came to participating in activities where they had to move and interact with their classmates, they were seen comfortable and eager to participate in the activities. On the contrary, when they were just sitting writing or doing homework or something with a book, they were looking at their cell phones, they were very disconnected from the class. Then we have the strategies and activities applied inside the classroom, which also may condition the attitude of students if they engage or not with the activities and the class. So they were provided with an environment full of English and with a wide range of activities, and they were seen very comfortable in that environment. On the contrary, with what differs from the methodology and the strategies applied with the other teacher. And also the teacher's beliefs, because sometimes what the teacher believes is going to work, actually it doesn't work very well, or it doesn't work at all. And maybe the activities are not appropriate for their students' level or the ages. So these three concepts condition the attitude that students will have during the classes. Yeah. Metacognitive analysis. So now I can say that I have new insights on what being a teacher is in the adult context. And I have awareness of what are the roles of the teacher inside the classroom, the multiple roles that we have inside a classroom, that of a helper, motivator, or etc. And an awareness of the amount of strategies that teachers need in a classroom to control the classroom and the learning of those students. So, what one strength I could identify is my attitude towards learning, my empathy, and the strategies that I have learned throughout this process in the university, and that I consider are very important to have them in the classroom, to control students and see if they learn or not. And one weakness is my lack of experience teaching grammar, or something related to that, because I can recall one situation in which one student asked me something about it was not a grammatical structure, but something related to how a word is formed. And I didn't know how to explain it, but I know how it works in the language, but I didn't know how to explain it in that moment. So that's a challenge for me, for the future, because all teachers should be prepared for that kind of questions, I think. And regarding research, my ability to find information, I don't know if it's that because I like research or not. And one weakness in my organization, because I haven't learned how to manage my time in a correct way. I end up sometimes with a big workload. So that's a future challenge too. And that's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.